Howdy, peeps. Hope you're enjoying your weekend. Uh, I took 2 weekends off. Yeah, 2 weeks ago was Easter. By the time we ate and stuff, I couldn't move, so I was gonna have a hard time moving into my office to do this. So then last week, now that it's getting warmer, I had to mow the yard. I washed my car, and I wash her every Sunday, whether or not she needs it or not. I wash her. Washed the wife's car. Then we went and saw Pink Floyd at Pompeii. I don't know. I think it was like the 40th or 50th um, re-release or the anniversary of, and it was good. Don't get me wrong. I like Pink Floyd, but for some reason, I thought it was going to be like a concert without the people because I knew or I know either way that Pinky Floyd, I call them Pinky Floyd, drives the wife nuts. That Pink Floyd did do that concert in Pompeii, and it was without an audience, and they had all their equipment and amps and everything. But I thought I was under the impression, valid or not, but I was under the impression that they were going to sing a concert, and it wasn't that way at all. It's just it showed them like behind the scenes, it showed them in the studio, showed them at Pompeii, and it was just like instrumentals for an hour and a half, and like I said, it was good. If you're a Pink Floyd fan, you will like it. It's just I was expecting something else. So with that with that thought in mind, this podcast is going to be fun. It's going to be my list of paranormal slash ghost themed movies. And this is not by any stretch of the imagination a a definitive list. And I don't know who the hell makes these lists. Like top five guitarists of all time. Who the freak makes this list out? Because half the people that they list, I don't know who the freak they are. They leave off Jimi Hendrix, Eddie Van Halen, to name a few. And it's like, so I don't like it when they go, oh, the top 50 movies of all time. Who says? Who's making this list up? Is it the critics? And obviously, if the critics don't like a certain, gyrene of movies, they're going to exclude them. So this is my list, not to be taken to the bank, not to be taken as gospel. That's my little disclosure. Is not, like I said, the definite list of top, and I think I have 10 top 10 movies. And I ain't talking about the ones that we all know. Okay, I'm not talking about Poltergeist, the Conjuring series, uh, uh, Ghostbusters. How could I forget that? I'm not including the ones that we all know because I think we all know. Okay, we all know about the Conjuring series, which I guess the last one is going to be. I think this year is the fourth and final installment of the Conjuring series. Anyways, so yeah, so we all know about like I said, again, not to repeat myself, but the Conjuring, Poltergeist, Ghost Hunter, Ghost Hunter, yeah, dude, that's a TV show, Ghostbusters. So those we all are aware of. So I figured in all these movies I have seen that I'm going to list, and they are listed. I'm going to list what year they came out, the title of the movie, and a little bit about it. Now, you don't have to worry, and my wife always tells me this when I start talking to other people about the movies. I will not spoil the movie for you. I will not give you the ending. Yeah, I know, I know. So let's start this out. Again, this is going to be ghost slash paranormal movies, not including the ones that we all know about, The Conjuring, Poltergeist, Ghostbusters, blah, blah, blah. Now, like I said, this is not the entire list. I might have to do a part two sometime in the future. But as of right now, this is my 10, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. My 10 movies. Again, not listed in any particular order, but I'm starting out by when they were released. So the first one, and I'm going to cross this off as I do this. I'm not going to tell you like who was in it because honestly, I don't remember who was in half these damn movies, and some of them I don't even know who was even in these movies. But for some reason, I liked them. And in order for me to like a movie, it has to be kind of realistic because right after these paranormal shows started to be aired, and I'm talking Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventurers, Paranormal State, just to name a few. There was a couple other ones that didn't last more than one season. So, but I guess what I'm trying to say is after these TV shows became popular, and I don't know if popular is even a way to describe them, more mainstream. Let's put it that way, mainstream. Then I don't know if you've or if you noticed some of the shows or the movies that came out after these shows became popular. That was like the general theme was you had a ghost, and I'm using my air quotes. You can't see that, but air quotes, a paranormal team who goes into a haunted location and filmed like if you were watching a TV show. And a couple of these on my list are, but they they're cool how they do it. So I will give you basically, I will give you, like I said, my 10, not my top 10, but my 10 movies that I have seen and I liked. And I will give you a little bit of what the story's about without giving you the ending because a couple of these you're gonna say, "Oh, dude, thanks, buddy. You just ruined it for me, you douchebag." So I'm trying not to do that. If I slip up, I'm sorry, but like you guys know, I don't like to edit this stuff, so I like to just record it for half hour, well actually more like 30, 35, 40, 45 minutes without editing because I don't know how to edit. Well, I do, but I got other things to do than sit here and edit for hours at a time. And I would probably mess it up anyways. So without further ado, let's start this. My first movie is from 1981 and it's called Ghost Story. Essentially, it's about these old geezers that when they were younger, they did a boo boo. Let's just put it that way. And then they had to live with what happened over the years, and by what they did, they someone did get killed, but it was an accident thing. I guess I can tell you that. And essentially, they had to live with it growing up, and now they moved on from that accident that happened. They lived their lives, got married, had kids, all that, fun stuff, whatever. And it came to bite them in the ass towards the about halfway through the movie. Their boo boo came to bite them in the ass, and I think it was on the anniversary, I believe, of what happened. But I guess I can rate them too. I guess so. On this, let me write that down because otherwise I'm going to forget to do this. So let me do this. Rate each movie. Let's say 1 to 10. Okay, and 10 would be scariest, knock your socks off, don't watch this alone. One is don't waste your time. I don't know if I'll have a one or not, but let's say 10 is best. So this is going to be based my scale here. I kind of like this. This is kind of fun. It's not to be taken seriously. It's having a fun time. That's what we're here to do is have a freaking good time. So in my rating, I will rate it on scariness. I will rate this movie or these movies on I guess realism, I guess, and or how gory it was. So all that's going to be included in this rating. So okay, so the 81 movie Ghost Story. Oh, and there's one that I forgot too. See, I'm just sitting here thinking Ghost Ship. Now that was a freaking classic. So I'm going to write that down. Like I said, I might have to have a part two of this because the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm remembering things that, oh crap, I watched that. Okay, so back to the story. Focus, focus. Okay, from '81, a Ghost Story with all that stuff figured in. I'll say about a three. It's not too scary. It's not too gory. So a three. So that is my first one. Again, ranked in no particular order. It's by the release date of the movie. Okay, the other one, number two, came out in 1982. The Entity. Now that was a good flick. And I know who was the lead actor because she was hot back then. There was an actress named Barbara Hershey. Look it up. Supposedly, this is based on a true story. The woman that is it's based on lived in a house in L.A. Nothing like some hot coffee in the morning. So, and supposedly everything again, you have to realize that they probably take you know liberties, I guess you would call it, with these movies. So not everything is factual that happened, but they have to make it more interesting, kind of thing. So the entity in itself was a great movie. Again, a woman, she had two kids, two daughters, and an older son, if I remember correctly. And this was in the mid 70s, I think, early to mid 70s is when this supposedly happened. Now, there's a dude. I'm going off of memory here. His name was first name was Carey. And he was well known back in the 70s, early 80s. He headed a parapsychology psych. He studied paranormal stuff. Parapsychologist. Yeah, there you go. Parapsychologist. And he was a head of a famous organization that studied paranormal stuff. And he came and did an investigation over over time. It wasn't like a 1 day thing. It was over time, and they got some really good. I've seen like actual footage of picture, or not footage, but actual pictures. And she knew, and the storyline. I guess I mean this isn't gonna spoil it, but supposedly the entity was sexually assaulting the woman, and that happened I think two or three times in the movie itself. Um, Again, I'm not going to try to tell you how it ended or anything, but again, the entity from '82, and on a scale of 1 to 10, considering everything involved, this is closer to about a six. It was interesting. It kept your interest, but again, you have to realize this was '81, or I'm sorry, '82. The graphics sucked. It was in the early stages of CGI stuff and blue screens and all that kind of stuff. The graphics sucked. The movie itself was good. So again, so I'm going to write this down too. So Ghost Story I said was a three, and Entity was a six so far. Okay, the third movie on our list is from 1999. And that movie is called, and I'm sure some of you have heard about this, The Sixth Sense. Dun, 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 dun. Bruce Willis was in this one, and that Joel something something. I don't know his name. It was like a three name person, but Joel I think was his first name. Joel I think. Not entirely for sure. Don't really care to be honest with you. I know that Bruce Willis was in there, and basically Bruce Willis played a psychiatrist, I do believe, if I remember correctly. Some of these movies I haven't seen for a long time, so I'm going on memory, which is scary because my memory fails me really easy. Oh crap! I kind of missed one here out of order, but that's okay. No, I did not. Yes, I did too. Okay, as my aunt Sharon used to tell me, let me know who wins the argument and let me know. So I did skip one, so do have one out of order. I apologize. Shame on me. Anyways, the Sixth Sense was a psychiatrist who was seeing a child who supposedly, and I'm sure this was a meme, I see dead people. Yeah, that's that movie, The Sixth Sense. This one had a really weird ass ending. I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to spoil it. That was my best Richard Nixon impersonation. I am not a crack. So, The Sixth Sense, It wasn't scary. It wasn't gory. It was more like a suspenseful kind of thing ish. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I'll give The Sixth Sense probably a 3 also, just because it was okay, but it wasn't wasn't scary, wasn't suspenseful. There was a couple of scenes, the oh, what's that called? Shock scares. There was a couple of shock scares in there, but not anything major. Okay, so the one that I skipped, we just actually watched this the other night on was it YouTube? No, it wasn't on YouTube. It was on our IPTV service that we use. And this came out in 1992. See, I skipped one. I wrote it down wrong. That should have been wrong. But oh, actually, I did skip one more. But again, the movie is called Ghost Watch, and the story on Ghost Watch is it took place in London, and this was supposedly presented or produced by the BBC, which is the British Broadcasting Company, and I still say it was based on the house from The Conjuring 2, the Enfield haunting that happened over in London. Enfield, Enfield haunting. And I think it was, but they didn't specifically say it was, but it looked very similar to the posters. If you've seen Conjuring 2, the posters that they had up on the wall of Starsky and Hutch, the two girls in The Conjuring did, which was based on a true story, the Enfield haunting in London. And I thought this was the house, but well, they said that it wasn't, but I'm pretty sure it was. Hold on, I'm drinking some coffee. Okay, so what? Basically, on this one, it was they had this one house. I still say it was the Enfield haunting, and they being the BBC sent a news crew. It's gonna be one of these ones where like they have people in the audience. I'm sorry, people in the studio taking questions from callers. They had like a call center set up in the studio where people could come call in, tell them their stories, paranormal stories, blah blah blah. And they had a live crew there recording. They had an audio guy, a sound guy. Well, I guess that's the same thing, douchebag. Duh. So they had an audio guy, a sound guy, same thing, cameraman, and a reporter on site. And it started out kind of slow, but then they experienced the stuff that the family said was happening on a daily basis. And good flick. The last half an hour to 45 minutes were the best, to be honest with you, as far as things that were happening. But as you all know, you can't just flip a switch and have the activity happen. So this was kind of realistic because like I said, the first hour, 45 minutes to an hour were kind of slow, but then it started to pick up. So based on the ending, based on the graphics, based on the scare factor, the gore, I really liked Ghost Watch because it was kind of like a realistic approach, I guess, to filming a paranormal investigation. So I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the scariest, one being, I would say Ghost Watch is a 5. It was a good movie. Like I said, we just saw that last week, and that's actually what got me to thinking about this. Is what, dudes, why not do a podcast on movies, paranormal movies? So that's kind of what got this all started. So, and I did go out of order a little bit, and I totally, 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 totally forgot about this movie. It came out also in 1999. Kevin Bacon, Stir of Echoes. Good flick. Good flick. It was basically Kevin Bacon and his wife bought a house. I want to say it was or a flat. I want to say it was in Chicago, and again, kind of on the whole theme of the ghost story that I had mentioned earlier from '81. Some kids did a boo boo, and the boo boo when Kevin Bacon and his wife, and I think he had a kid or two kids, moved into this house. Things started happening, and this was more realistic. Well, except for the ending. The ending was kind of jacked, but in my opinion, the ending was jacked. That's not how I would like to have seen the ending. It was it was kind of like realistically how things happen. It was just, it started out as small things. He thought he was going crazy. He would see things out of the corner of his eye, hear things, all that kind of stuff. But again, I'm not going to try to, give out too much information, because if you want to watch the movie, you can say, well, that dude, he already told me how it freaking ended, so why even bother? So I'm not going to get too involved in anything, of this. But so Stir of Echoes, um, the ending kind of brought it down for me a little bit. We'll say a Stir of Echoes is a 5 also. Just because it's realistically, and see, I don't give out too many tens, dudes. I don't give out too many tens. Just because that has to be a perfect movie, and I've never seen, as of today, a perfect movie about paranormal. There were some that were close, but not a perfect one. And before I forget, I apologize for omitting this information. If you are a Star Wars dude, may the fourth be with you. You get it? Yeah. May the fourth be with you. Not live long and prosper. That's a different series altogether. So you look like a dork. No offense to you if you did this, but you look like a dork if you do Spock's thing with his hands on May 4th and say live long and prosper. Not even close, and it makes it look like you don't know what you're talking about, which obviously you do not if you do that. May the fourth be with you, Star Wars. Live long and prosper, Star Trek series. Rant over. Okay, so my next one here, I'm trying to, in my head here, see if I skipped any more. Okay, there is two of them from 2001. The first one is The Others. Good flick, not too scary. The ending, did not see it coming. The ending was like, holy shit, what if? So that's all I'm going to say about the ending. It's not what I expected. Nicole Kidman starred in it, and she had two children, I believe, a boy and a girl. And if I remember correctly, it was after World War One. No, I'm sorry, World War Two. One of the world wars, and her husband was killed in action. So they moved into this mansion, or they lived already in the mansion. They might have already lived in the mansion. And then stuff started happening. They'll come into a room and the blinds are closed, and then they'll leave and come back a few minutes later, and the blinds are open, doors open and closed. They hear footsteps, they hear voices, they see things. Again, the ending is like, wow, I did not see this ending coming. So with that being said, again, I don't want to give too much. The Others is good, not too gory. It leaves you thinking though, because like I said, the ending is like, man, I did not see that ending coming. So on a one to 10 scale, I'm going to do The Others as a 6, just because the ending came out of freaking left field. It really did. Because the whole time you're thinking, oh, I know what's going on, and then the ending happens, and you're like, nope, I didn't know what happened. So anyways, The Others is a 6. Okay, the other one that came out in 2001 is 13 Ghosts. Now this one is an interesting flick. It had the dude Matthew Lillard, I think it was, who played Scooby Doo. Real Shaggy. He was in it, not the main character, but he was in it. And the dude, the dude that played, I think it's Monk, the dude that has like serious like OCD or AHD, whatever it was, Monk. He played like the lead character, and the theory is he had, I think his wife just died. And I said I haven't seen this in a long time, but I remember the story line, if you will. So I think what happened on this was his wife died, and him and his, I want to say he had 2 or 3 or 4 kids. I don't remember. He had kids, and they lived. I think they lived in an apartment or something, and his his brother died, and his brother was like eccentric, really weird, really out there and stuff, and he left them a mansion, and so they moved into this mansion. But the storyline, I guess, is that he was trying to find ways to communicate with spirits in the house. And it was weird, dudes. I won't admit it. I mean, I will admit it was weird. The ending was weird. A lot of gore. A lot of gore. Yeah, a lot of gore. A lot of shock scares. So 13 Ghost, good flick. A lot of gore. So if you have, small ones, you might want to, time for you guys to go to bed. Mommy and Daddy are going to watch a scary movie. So 13 Ghost, just because there's a lot of gore in it, let's give this a 6 also. And I'm writing them down because we're going to do a recap at the end of this. Okay, now the next one came out in 2007. Does not seem like it was 2007. And it was supposedly based, I don't know for a fact, on a Stephen King book, 1408. Yeah. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are shaking your head. Yeah, I remember that one, bitch. That was a good one. 1408 was this. I guess he was. I forget who played him. It's John Cusack, I believe who it was. And if I'm wrong, shoot me an email saying, "Dude, you were wrong." But I think it was John Cusack. John Cusack? It, it wasn't Joan. It was a dude. I think it was John Cusack. Anyways, if I'm wrong, I apologize. It's been a while. He was like four the forefront runner of like investigative reporting, I guess. And what he did was he would get people, or people would write him and saying, "My house is haunted, this building's haunted, this hotel's haunted, blah blah blah." And he would go and investigate it, and then he would do the same thing that I'm kind of doing. He would write a book about it if it was scary enough, and otherwise he would just say, okay, this was not too scary, was not too scary. Well, it was the Dolphin Hotel. I want to say it's a fictitious name for a hotel, and I believe it was in New York City, and it has and room 1408 had a reputation of being haunted. And Samuel L. Jackson was, or is, I guess was, the hotel manager. And so John Cusack had wrote them and said, "I want to stay in 1408." And Samuel Jackson, or no, actually, I'm sorry. I think he called. He called them and said, "I want to stay in room 1408." And Samuel L. Jackson said, "That's impossible. We don't rent that room. A lot of tragic things happen in that room, and we do not rent that room out no more." Well, then of course, John Cusack, he threatened legal action. If you don't let me stay there, I'm going to file a lawsuit. My civil rights were denied. All that BS. Long story short, he got to stay in the hotel room, and he had a lot of crap happen to him, but it wasn't like all at one time. And it was like they would show, flashbacks of things, that happened, and good flick. The ending was good. Um, Not really so much a shock value, but the ending, and I guess I can say this because it doesn't really give it away. The ending with the EVP that he caught in that room, fabulous. Whoever wrote that, Stephen King, supposedly his book, but whoever wrote the screenplay, freaking outstanding ending. Kind of caught me off guard. So 1408, I'm going to give it my highest so far, a 7, just because of the EVP at the end. And I don't think I give that away. So I think I'm okay with that. Okay. So the last two on the list are 1 and 2. They are sequels. The first one came out in 2011. Grave Encounters. One of my favorite flicks, dudes. I have it. I have the DVD. Well, Blu-ray now. I don't watch it all the time. There's other things to watch stuff, but Grave Encounters. I like it. It's about this abandoned psychiatric hospital that this team of paranormal investigators, they call themselves Grave Encounters. Like, really? That was hard to figure out. And they go in there, and the main character is Lance. I don't know who the character who played Lance. There was Lance, the cameraman, a second cameraman, and a chick. And that was the Grave Encounters. Well, somehow they got permission to spend, I think they spent the night or the weekend in this old psychiatric hospital. And it was supposedly, I'm gonna say it was supposedly in Canada, but I don't think it was. But anyways, and the show starts out by them meeting the groundskeeper or caretaker of these buildings, because there's more than one building. And he tells them a little bit about the history and some of the things that he's encountered in these buildings. He said that the tunnels at night are particularly scary, you know, to him. And the reason why I like this movie particularly is they totally make fun of Ghost Adventures. It's like they take like shots at them. Some of the things that they would do early in the Ghost Adventures seasons, where if there was something that was particularly paranormal, Zach would say, mark it with an X with tape. So then Aaron or Nick would put a tape, an X on it. So that means that's active. Well, they do the same thing in this movie. So, I mean, they don't come out and say they're taking a shot at Ghost Adventures, but if you watch Ghost Adventures from like the start, none of this crazy shit now. They're they're they are batshit crazy. Ever since Nick left, well, Nick wasn't in the show, but ever since he left and they got these other people, like one, I think his name was Brian or some name like that, who was the audio guy. Now he's an investigator, and they brought on some investigator. I mean, dude, it's so freaking bad, and I'm not making fun of this or I'm not making light of this, but Aaron Goodman, who has been on there since the first, he's kind of like the dorky guy on, he's the sidekick to Zach. His wife tried to get him killed. Okay, I'm not making fun of the situation, but and if you haven't heard that, look it up. She hired a hitman to kill him, Aaron Goodman. So, oh, and then like two of the EVP people, the husband and wife, killed themselves because they well, not because they were associated with Zach and his team, but they killed themselves too. So that team has kind of got like history kind of thing. So again, I'm not making any fun of people who kill themselves, the husband and wife, or the murder for hire. I'm not making fun of that. I'm just mentioning it because it's associated with Ghost Adventures, and this movie is about that. So the theme of this movie is they go to this abandoned psychiatric hospitals. They set up their equipment. They set up the audio. The camera guy, the one guy, goes out, sets up all of his stuff, and they sit there, and they have in the lobby. They have all the TV monitors and equipment and all that kind of stuff. Well, one by one, they start disappearing, and until Lance is the only one left. No, I'm not going to say how they disappeared, but the ending is a little bit disappointing, only in the fact that you've seen these people for an hour and almost an hour and a half, and you kind of like get not attached to them, but you kind of like, okay, how is this going to end? Because my favorite character just turned up missing. So the ending kind of like left me jacked a little bit because it's not what I was involved in the characters, and that happened. But I would say Grave Encounters is one of my favorite movies. With everything, I'm going to say an 8, just because of the factors involved. It's more realistic, even though they poke fun at times, but it's a good flick. Okay, then to end up my top, and I'm not going to say top 10 list. To end my 10 or list of 10 ghost paranormal movies is Grave Encounters 2. And basically, it starts out by saying that it is a what's that? What you know how that genre now of movies, um, Lost Tapes? I think it's called Lost Tapes. Lost Tapes, where they find that this tape and they go, okay, this has not been edited. So basically, no, I'm sorry. As I was, that was how Grave Encounter started. I'm sorry, Grave Encounter started by that this was supposed to be all 14 members of Grave Encounters turned up missing. So I apologize for that. That's how the first one started, is by saying this was lost tape found at this psychiatric hospital. It has been unedited, uncut, except for the things, whatever, and here it is. So that's what Grave Encounters was. Grave Encounters 2 was in 2012, and it basically told the story that what happened to Lance, who was the main character in Ghost Adventures. Not Ghost, why am I saying Ghost Adventures? Grave Encounters, the first one, what happened to him, it is explained in 2. So Grave Encounters 2, my advice is do not watch it. It's stupid. I am a big Smokey and the Bandit fan. Okay, they should not have made Smokey and the Bandit 2 and or 3. 3 was so bad that Burt Reynolds wasn't even in it. Jerry Reed looked like the Bandit, how he dressed, and the Trans Am was those stupid ass Trans Ams that they came out with in the 80s. They had the hatchback. That's not Trans Am, people. You don't put a freaking hatchback on a sports car. Okay? You hear that, Pontiac Oldsmobile people? You don't put a freaking hatchback on a sports car. It's the exact same way. I'm going to rant for a second. You do not, even though the Hemis are coming back. Okay, I have a Challenger that is a gas powered Challenger. The wife has one too. Why the hell are you making this crap electric? Okay, it's good for the environment. I understand that. But they sound like shit. Excuse my French. They don't have the blah, 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 that the V8 has, man. You can't even hear them coming. So they artificially made a muffler sound on an EV. No, not the same, people. I'm sorry. But they are bringing back the V8. I don't know. I think it's 2026. They're going to start production on the next generation V8s. So, anyways, I got off track. I had a tantrum there for a second. Grave Encounters 2, do not see it. It sucked. They took a good thing with Grave Encounters and tried to make it part 2. Some things you just don't do part 2 of. Now, however, if it was like Back to the Future, who had 1, 2, and 3, yes, I can see that. But Grave Encounters 2 does not even come close to the criteria of having a sequel. So avoid it. On a scale of 1 to 10, a -10. It sucked that bad. Trust me, save your hour and a half, watch something else. This is not worth it. So, that being said, this is my list of my 10 ghost movies and a scale. So again, uh, Ghost Story from '81 was a 3. I'm gonna try to do these in order here, so I'm reading them here. The Entity was a 1982, a 6 out of 1 to 10. This is just like a recap. This is like a David Letterman top 5, but in my case, it's a top 10. So it's the old guy's top 10. Okay, so let me cross these off. So the Entity I just did, then Ghost Story I just did. Okay, so let's go to 19. So I'm trying to do these in order here, so I apologize. 1999, Stir of Echoes, a 5 on a scale of 1 to 10. See, I missed one. I'm sorry. Ghost Watch, 1992, a 5. Good flick. Okay, the next one is The Sixth Sense, a 3, just because it wasn't scary, it wasn't gory or nothing. 2001 had 2 of them. The others was a 6, just because the ending was like, holy shit. Did not see that coming. 13 Ghost, also 2001. That's also a 6 because it's gory. I dropped it down a little bit. 2007, Room 1408 or just 1408. That was a solid 7 because there was some weird crap going on there. And then the last two was 2011 was Grave Encounters and 8. Good flick. Grave Encounters 2, not a good flick. It sucked. That's a -10. Avoid that like you would COVID. It sucked. It will suck. It will forever suck. Do not watch Grave Encounters 2. Okay. And that's the podcast for this week. I think it came back with a bang. But I think I might have to do this for part 2 though, because I did forget a Ghost Ship. Classic freaking movie, a great soundtrack. Mudvayne was one of the bands, hard rock, yeah, buddy. So I might have to delve into my paranormal ghost viewing that I have forgotten about, not including the ones that we all know, Poltergeist, Ghostbusters, uh, the Conjuring series. There are some, excuse me, there are some other obscure ones that I have seen that I don't remember what they are. So I might have to research into that. But anyways, there's my 10 favorite, let's call it favorite, paranormal or ghost movies that I have seen. So with that being said, let's round out this week's podcast. Like I said, May 17th, we're going to be in Bath. Weather permitting. This is a one of the few that we have that is weather permitting because it is outside, and as you all know, you cannot get good evidence if it's raining. Half the shit looks like orbs, but it's actually rain. Mist, ectoplasmic mist, whatever you want to call it, can also be affected by the environment. If it's windy, not windy, if it's rainy, high humidity, it could actually technically fog up your camera lenses and give you false positives. Plus, who in the hell wants to be out, in the freaking rain for 4 hours? I sure don't. Those days are past. I did that when I was in the freaking Marines. I'm done being out in the rain unless I absolutely have to or I get caught in the rain. So May 17th in Bath, weather permitting, 8 until midnight. Again, I will be there at 7 o'clock with some books and some pictures. So if you are coming and you do not know the history or you want to know more about the truthful history, not what you have read online, because online sucks, come at 7 o'clock. There's a gazebo. If you're on Webster, there's a gazebo right beside. Ow! It just bit my freaking tongue. That hurt. Ow! That's a sign for me to quit talking. So I will. I'll wrap this up. That hurt. Um, there was a gazebo right by the church that was there when the school was blown up. And I will be there under the gazebo, weather permitting, at 7 o'clock to talk about what happened. Not just the explosion, but the who's, the what's, the whys, and the reasons behind it. Again, so as I like to say every week, until we meet again, and as always, stay away from the light, and I will see you next week. Bye bye.